Chapter 71 Me. I am an 18th tier celebrity with a love brain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yang Zhao lay staring at the open doorway behind Dolly. Hope flickered within her. Quiet footsteps approached from outside. Who could it be? Cheng Ling. That delicate, seemingly fragile actress. Despair washed over Yang Zhao. Wasn't her own humiliation enough? This starlet was actually trying to get involved. Was she planning on becoming someone else's easy target? So dumb. Yang Zhao locked eyes with Cheng Ling, shaking her head frantically, silently urging her to run. Cheng Ling gently shook her head, raised a finger to her lips, and gestured for silence. Dolly's eyes darted around anxiously. He fumbled with the imported Italian belt buckle, finally managing to undo it. He sighed in relief, glancing away from the belt. Then he spotted a pair of shoes, black, heavy-duty work boots, caked with mud and leaves, and surprisingly small. Who? Dolly wondered. It was his last thought. The next thing he knew, searing pain exploded on both sides of his neck, then darkness swallowed him whole. He was out cold. Yang Zhao was stunned. She'd witnessed the whole thing. Cheng Ling had struck Dolly's neck with lightning speed and precision, knocking him unconscious instantly. As he slumped, Cheng Ling caught him and lowered him to the floor as silently as possible. Only a pro could pull that off. The carotid sinuses on either side of the neck are pressure sensors for blood vessels. If the blow lands with the right force and in the right spot, it triggers a reflex that drops blood pressure, causing someone to pass out. Plus, the neck is close to the hypothalamus and medulla oblongata. A sharp blow can stimulate those too, messing with breathing and heart rate, leading to fainting, off by an inch, and you wouldn't just fail to knock him out, you'd make him scream. It was the perfect way to neutralize a threat silently without killing him. A realization dawned on Yang Zhao. How did Cheng Ling even get in here? Weren't there guards at the door? Had she taken them down just like this? Cheng Ling checked Dolly's pulse, then stood, walked to the bed, and untied a shocked and speechless Yang Zhao. You. Yang Zhao's eyes widened, a flood of questions threatening to spill out. Where did you learn moves like that? Why are you here? Where are the others? What happens now? But she held back, because Cheng Ling was already whispering, where are the others? Are they in the factory? Yang Zhao nodded. Don't worry, I'm going to get them. Cheng Ling offered Yang Zhao an encouraging smile. She quickly untied Yang Zhao's hands and feet, then squatted down and used the rope to tightly bind Dolly, ensuring he couldn't escape. Then, she grabbed a dirty pillowcase from the bed and stuffed it into Dolly's mouth as a gag. Yang Zhao, ignoring her aching limbs, scrambled off the bed and rushed to untie a bruised and disoriented Lu Dengfeng from the dining table. Often, are you okay? Tears streamed down Yang Zhao's face. Cheng Ling knelt and gave him a quick but thorough check, examining his eyes, chest, and neck, before finally saying, mild concussion, strained waist, abdomen, and wrist flexor. Nothing life-threatening, I think. Yang Zhao sighed in relief, then heard Cheng Ling asking, how many bad guys are there? What weapons do they have? Are the people from the show here too? Probably 8 or 9 weapons, just knives and pipes that I saw. No guns. Yang Zhao answered cautiously, I don't know. I didn't see any. Cheng Ling nodded, pushed herself to her feet. You and Lu Dengfeng stay here. I'm going to get the others. Wait. Who are you, really? Yang Zhao whispered. Cheng Ling paused at the door, a smile playing on her lips. Me? Just a D-list celebrity with a thing for romance. She slipped out the door. Jiang Qilan and the others were huddled behind the dormitory, waiting anxiously. There were patrols outside the factory. Cheng Ling didn't want to set off alarms. If the people inside sensed danger and took the cast and crew hostage, things would get messy. Tank's 50-man army could arrive at any moment, and Cheng Ling couldn't waste a second. There was no time to negotiate with these guys. Cheng Ling quietly rejoined Jiang Qilan and the others and quickly explained the situation. I need someone to work with me. After laying out the situation, Cheng Ling proposed her plan. This person will walk out and attract the attention of the guards, while I will sneak in through the back door and take down as many as possible. When they notice me, this person will have the opportunity to overwhelm the people in front of him and push them out of the way. Jiang Qilan, Lao Banjiu, and Sui Chao instantly volunteered, me, by Muchuan and Xiao A, Xiao B, Xiao C, Xiao D, and Xiao E followed a beat later, me, Lu Zhan remained silent, so eager to jump into danger. Did they not understand how risky this was? Just to be clear, there are about 8 or 9 armed thugs inside. It's really dangerous. Jiang Qilan, I'm not scared. Lao Banjiu, sounds fun. Sui Chao, I was a County Sonda champion, you know. Bai Muchuan, I'm the head henchman of a big sister. Little A, little B, little C, little D, little E, these are all my colleagues and leaders. This is a rare chance to get noticed and get promoted. Lu Zhan kept his mouth shut. Chapter 72 A Sudden Change, Angry Cheng Ling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's what they think of me. Cheng Ling was overcome with emotion, she smiled softly, you guys. I don't even know what to say. Okay, Jiang Qilan, you're with me. Jiang Qilan grinned instantly. Hey! What about us? The others protested. It felt like they were missing out on the chance to rescue the hostages. Because Jiang Qilan is a superstar. He's going to draw their attention, which ups my chances of success. Cheng Ling explained, that made sense, who could claim to be bigger than Jiang Qilan, singer, actor, and heartthrob? Seriously? The others grumbled, but kept quiet. You all have a job too. More guys could show up any minute, and they'll be armed. We can't fight them head-on. You need to be our eyes and ears outside. If you hear anything, duck for cover, don't get spotted, and try to signal me. I can recognize catcalls and bird songs. They all nodded. Jiang Qilan, I'm going to take care of the patrol. Cheng Ling bent down, pretending to tie her shoes, her eyes sharp. Once I've dealt with them, you go out there. Act all nervous, even overdo it a little to get their attention. Jiang Qilan cleared his throat. I'm no fighter, but I can act. Cheng Ling patted his shoulder, ducked down, and slipped out from behind the building. Around the back of the factory, 3 low-level thugs were shooting the breeze. This is a big deal, so many people. Tank gonna off them all. Once you pop, you can't stop. Who even knows how many tanks iced? Hey, Dolly's your brother-in-law, right? How come he doesn't hook you up? Don't even start. My sister said she'd find me a good gig. Turns out, it's this crap. Dolly only pulled me in, 'cause he knows I won't rat him out to my sister. Why not? She works at the station, doesn't she? Yeah, but she told a joke at work once, and the next day, she told it to Dolly. Means they got someone on the inside. So Dolly's gotta watch his back and keep a lid on things. Cheng Ling, who'd crept up behind them, froze. They really had a mole in the police. Calling her brother for backup was now out of the question. She was on her own. The only way she could bring this group home to Fengqing was by herself. This was too much, but, the harder things got, the more excited she became, right? Cheng Ling felt a surge of adrenaline, and when she got excited, her hands got stronger. Before the 3 guys even realized someone was behind them, they were lights out. Cheng Ling hurried back to Jiang Qilan and the others. Lao Banjiu, Sui Chao, go tie up those 3. Gag them good and try not to make a sound. Got it. Lao Banjiu and Sui Chao grabbed some rope and headed over. Jiang Qilan, you're on. Jiang Qilan nodded. Cheng Ling gave him a thumbs up and went back to the factory's back door. Sui Chao and Lao Banjiu were working fast tying up the unconscious men. Cheng Ling stood sideways at the back door, listening to the sounds inside. Hello? Anyone here? Jiang Qilan sauntered into the factory, all swagger. The 8 thugs inside were stunned. Jiang Qian's gaze swept over the scene, taking in the people who were obviously members of the reality show team squatting on the ground in 2s and 3s, hands bound with rope. The 8 guys holding machetes stared at him in confusion. That was her signal. Cheng Ling rolled across the ground, stood up behind the thug closest to the back door, and struck with all her force. The heel of her palm connected with the back of his neck, making a dull thud that wouldn't draw attention unless you were really listening for it. The man went limp. Cheng Ling grabbed him under the arms and, with her other hand, snatched the machete that was about to fall to the ground. Then, she lowered him gently to the floor. Jiang Qilan continued, all feigned bewilderment. Hey, Producer Lin, Director He. What's going on here? What's this? Some kind of live-action role play. Director He and Producer Lin's eyes almost popped out of their heads. What was Jiang Qilan doing here? This was bad. How did he find them? Was he alone? Where were the cops? What about Yang Zhao? Out of the corner of his eye, Jiang Qilan saw Cheng Ling sneak up behind the second guy and take him down without a sound. 6 more to go. The 6 thugs looked at Jiang Qilan, a flicker of recognition dawning on their faces. Isn't that the movie star Jiang Qilan? No way. But it looks just like him. Jiang Qilan ruffled his hair, acting confused. Are you guys taking this role play seriously? You want me to prove who I am? How about I sing you a song? Producer Lin and Director He, had Jiang Qilan lost it? Or, was this a diversion? Trying not to be obvious, Director He glanced back. His eyes widened as he watched Cheng Ling giving the goons neck therapy. Director He. Scary. Cheng Ling dispatched the third thug. Jiang Qilan began to sing softly. You wear the armor, sword in hand, riding a warhorse, valiant and grand, charging through battle, glory to defend, courageously forward, till the very end, warrior, legend bright and bold, fearlessly fighting, stories untold, your bravery inspires, strength soars above. Victory's creation, through love, unscathed by danger, you charge ahead, with flesh and blood, the war is tread, though bullets may wound, you stand and fight. Unwavering courage, shining bright, warrior, legend bright and bold. Fearlessly fighting, stories untold, your bravery inspires, strength soars above. Victory's creation, through love. This was a new song, written by Jiang Qilan himself, called Warrior. Hearing his voice, Cheng Ling couldn't help but pause for a moment. It was like the song was written just for her. Jiang Qilan's voice was, as always, perfection. Everyone present was drawn in, which was why, when Cheng Ling took down the 6th thug, the remaining 2 finally realized something was up. Who are you? Thug A yelled at Cheng Ling. Thug B, who was closer to Cheng Ling, raised his knife, ready to strike. Cheng Ling and Jiang Qilan moved at the same time. Jiang Qilan, taking advantage of Thug A's distracted state, raised his fist and socked Thug A in the temple. Clang! The sound rang out. Cheng Ling saw that Jiang Qilan had somehow found an iron chain and wrapped it around his fist, giving his punch extra weight. Thug A clutched his bleeding head and crumpled to his knees. Thug B gasped at the sight of his buddy's head wound. Before he could even finish hissing, Cheng Ling had knocked him into dreamland. Then, Cheng Ling delivered a knockout buff to Thug A. Cheng Ling sighed and wiped the sweat from her forehead. Director He and the others immediately cried out, Cheng Ling, Jiang Qilan, save Yang Zhao. Hurry! Cheng Ling bent down and untied Director He. Don't worry, she's safe. They didn't hurt her. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Are all the bad guys gone? Director He asked, his voice full of emotion. For now. There were 3 patrolling the back door, a leader and 2 followers, and the ones in the house. 14 total. Only Producer Lin frowned. Being a producer, he was very sensitive to numbers. He was certain that there were 15. Cheng Ling, 14. I thought. Producer Lin was cut off by Jiang Qilan's shout. Heads up! Jiang Qilan shouted as he tackled Producer Lin to the ground. Then, Cheng Ling heard a deafening blast. Jiang Qilan flinched as he covered Producer Lin, and the air filled with the smell of gunpowder and blood. Cheng Ling's eyes flashed red. Chapter 73 Mistakes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Qilan. Cheng Ling screamed. She reached out to help him, her hand instantly soaked in warm blood. Cheng Ling was beyond furious. Yang Zhao claimed she didn't see a gun, but that didn't mean there wasn't one. It wasn't really Yang Zhao's fault though. She hadn't seen Dolly pointing the gun at Director He either. Suppressing her rage and blaming herself, she ripped open Jiang Qian's shirt with trembling hands. The bullet had struck just outside his left lower back. The location wouldn't hit any major organs, but the bullet had twisted and drilled through his side, tearing a large, bloody, and gruesome wound. I said, "Hands up, or I'll shoot again." The hulking guy with the gun spat. He was Dolly's right-hand man, the guy Dolly trusted the most. Tank had warned that a cop might return, so it was safer to stash the drugs. Dolly had given his deputy the job, along with the gun. The drugs were hidden in a secret spot a few hundred yards from the lumber mill, an old wartime bomb shelter. When Cheng Ling was searching around the lumber mill, there was no way she would have searched that far. "Hey, I'm talking to you." The big guy felt dissed when Cheng Ling ignored him and knelt to check on the injured man. Cheng Ling looked up at the gunman, her eyes slightly red. She lifted Jiang Qian's right hand and positioned it over the wound. "Press here, I'll take care of him, then come back and fix you up." The big guy was holding an old Soviet pistol, popular back in the 50s. The guns used by the Chinese police now were all copies of this one. Cheng Ling could strip this pistol down to its parts in 30 seconds, blindfolded. The big guy aimed the gun at Cheng Ling, ready to pull the trigger. He'd been caught off guard before and paid the price. No way was Cheng Ling getting that chance again. She flicked her right hand, and a miniature folding utility knife shot out, hitting the big guy's shoulder with a solid thwack. His gun hand jerked upward, firing a shot into the ceiling. Before he could react, Cheng Ling was on him like a torpedo, grabbing his right hand and twisting it savagely. He screamed like a stuck pig, his thumb snapping. Cheng Ling wrenched the pistol away. The big guy clutched his thumb, collapsing to his knees and howling. Cheng Ling kicked him in the gut, sending him sprawling. She straddled him, pinning him to the ground, and started pounding his face, punch after punch after punch. The sickening sound of bone and flesh meeting filled the air. The big guy tried desperately to throw her off, but this woman looked so slight, so fragile. And he was a big dude, a good 150, 160 pounds. He just couldn't shake her. As he began to fade, he flashed back to a nature show he'd seen once, where a small leopard took down a massive herbivore, biting it to death. Everyone in the room was stunned. The big guy passed out. Cheng Ling pulled back her fist. She took a deep breath and hurried back to Jiang Qian. Sui Chao, Lao Banjiu, and the others outside had heard the commotion and rushed in. "What's going on?" Lao Banjiu asked. "I thought I heard a gunshot." Director He and producer Lin snapped out of their shock. "Jiang Qian's been shot. Quick, untie us. Where's the medic? We need help here." Chaos erupted. Dolly and his crew had packed up the show's equipment and piled it in the lumber mill warehouse. The medical team frantically searched for the first aid kit and ran to Jiang Qian. Cheng Ling knelt beside Jiang Qian. The back of her hand was covered in blood, some from the big guy, some from herself. The knuckles on her hand were red, swollen, and split from the force of the beating. But she didn't seem to feel any pain. She was focused on Jiang Qian's wound. "I'm sorry. This is my fault. I didn't secure the area." "No, don't blame yourself." Jiang Qian saw that Cheng Ling was upset, pressed on his wound, and tried to reassure her. "You stopped him. We're safe now." Cheng Ling just nodded. This was her responsibility. If she'd been leading a real op, a slip-up like this could have gotten everyone killed. The shooter wasn't even skilled. If a pro had been behind that gun, she'd be dead right now. She'd already died once. How could she make such a dumb mistake again? Unforgivable. Maybe she'd gotten too complacent since traveling through time. The three members of the medical team approached Cheng Ling cautiously. Teacher Cheng, we need to treat Jiang Qian's wound." "Let me handle it," Cheng Ling said, holding out her hand. "Huh?" The medical team was taken aback. What was she doing? They had graduated from medical school. They had studied for 8 years for their bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, and worked for 3 years to become professional doctors. She was just an actress with some decent skills. Did she think she could replace them just because she knew some survival tricks? The medical team captain clutched the first aid kit tightly. Cheng Ling looked up at him and said slowly, "With this kind of gunshot wound, the bullet spins as it enters. You have to remove all the dead tissue and foreign matter, turn the contaminated wound into a clean wound, and then suture it. If it's not done properly, it can lead to serious complications. Chapter 74 Don't Give In to Your Brain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You, an 18th-rate actress, think you can handle a gunshot wound? You run your mouth a lot. Aren't you afraid you'll trip over your own tongue? The head of the medical team hesitated, frozen in place. Jiang Qilan said, let her do it. I trust her. Jiang Qilan had brought this medical team. He was basically their boss. When the boss spoke, no one dared to disobey. The medical team captain immediately opened the medical kit. Cheng Ling disinfected her hands with alcohol, put on disposable surgical gloves, pulled out a syringe, and drew in the anesthetic. She injected the anesthesia. You guys, help me hold pressure on the bleeding point. Anyone got a strong flashlight? I need some light. Everyone else, help the production crew pack up their gear. We need to be fast. As soon as I finish treating this wound, we need to get out of here. Turtle Dove, can you round up all the criminals and tie them up? Without any broken ankles, right? Turtle Dove shook his head. Cheng Ling squatted in front of one of the criminals, eyes wide. She grabbed his ankle, twisted it in the opposite direction, and gave it a hard strike with her elbow. The ankle dislocated. Turtle Dove nodded and directed the dislocating of ankles, one by one. At first, she was a little clumsy, but soon she was dislocating a foot in under 5 seconds. Sui Chow, take a few people and search the area. Find out where this guy was hiding. The local anesthetic should be kicking in about now. Cheng Ling grabbed the scalpel and said to Jiang Qilan, I'm going to start working on the wound. She injected more anesthetic, used the scalpel to cut away the dead tissue, carefully removed the bullet fragments, cleaned the wound with medical saline to make sure it was clear of debris, and then used tweezers to hold the needle and sew the wound closed. The anesthetic was doing its job. Jiang Qilan couldn't feel any pain. He lay there, watching Cheng Ling without blinking. She was wearing a mask and a simple hat, her expression totally focused. For some reason, she projected a distant vibe, intangible and unreachable. What kind of person was she, anyway? Serious? Strong? Vulnerable? Dangerous? Lonely? He had no idea. She carefully concealed her real self behind layers of thick masks. Only when her emotions ran high did she reveal a tiny glimpse of what lay beneath. Just standing there, she commanded everyone's attention. She made you want to rely on her, to trust her without thinking. Was that it? Jiang Qilan was starting to wonder. Was this what liking someone felt like? The medical team members trusted Cheng Ling the moment she picked up the scalpel. A real expert lets you know right away whether they're the real deal. No one in their right mind would have guessed that this actress could actually treat a gunshot wound. Clearly, there was a reason Jiang Qilan was a major A-list star. His waist and abs were rock solid, the result of consistent workouts. Cheng Ling examined the wound closely. She was becoming convinced that her new body's hormone levels were seriously affecting her since she traveled through time. Like, she got angry easier, felt more sympathy, and understood other people's emotions better. Before, she'd used rote memorization to figure people out. If you used to be a sophisticated machine, you now had more human desires and feelings, but you'd also lost your machine-like coldness. The human brain lies to you all the time. And Cheng Ling had learned a bunch of ways to avoid falling for it, like when your brain says, just stay up a little longer, and you'll be fine for studying and work tomorrow. Or when you see a bin of bulk rice at the supermarket and your brain commands, stick your hands in it. Brain, don't ask questions, just leave it to me. You got it. But the reason we humans can progress is because we can be our own masters and not be dominated by anything external, not even our own desires. Chapter 75, Full Control of the Body. You are listening at novelfull.audio. These intense emotions were pretty new to Cheng Ling. Back when Cheng Ling was with the H-Rangers, everyone knew they could be dead in a heartbeat, so, when they weren't on a mission, they'd go wild, some with booze, others with gambling, and still others hitting up nightclubs for no-strings-attached hookups and the thrill of a one-night stand. Cheng Ling got it. She also understood the feelings between people who were lifelong partners. She understood, but she'd never felt that pull towards anyone. Man or woman, no one knew that the H-Rangers captain, the fearsomely strong Cheng Ling, the one who could sling dirty jokes with the best of them, was actually a virgin. Same went for camaraderie. She never told anyone how she really felt when her teammates died, that she felt more regret than anything, and found it hard to be angry or even heartbroken. Now, things were different. Cheng Ling lowered her head, carefully examining Jiang Qilan's wounds. Luckily, they weren't too bad, just damage to the skin and muscle, nothing internal. She quickly assessed the cuts and planned her suture strategy. "Teacher Cheng Ling, should we prep the antibiotics?" the medic asked. Cheng Ling leaned over, checking the medicine boxes. "Let's see what kind of antibiotics we have here." After choosing the right antibiotic and cleaning the wound, Cheng Ling focused on stitching him up. Soon, she was done. 7 stitches closed Jiang Qilan's wound. The anesthetic was still working, so he wasn't in pain. Cheng Ling sighed in relief, letting the medical team wipe her forehead, take the tweezers and needle, and remove her gloves. "Alright, all done. But be careful these next few days, don't move around too much so you don't tear the stitches, and try to keep it dry. Let me know if you need anything," Cheng Ling told Jiang Qilan. Jiang Qilan's lips were pale. "Okay, thank you." Cheng Ling and the medical team cleaned up. I still don't have enough control over this body. I need to figure out how to deal with this. Natural reaction. While Cheng Ling was worrying about that, the medical team helped Jiang Qilan sit up. "Big sister, should we get moving?" Jiang Qilan asked. Cheng Ling nodded. "You'll need to be patient. I don't know when this escape will end. At least I know the criminals are still after us. I want to trick them into thinking we're heading for the forest exit. If it works, it will buy us some time. But they'll be back. Jiang Qilan, things might get painful, but we have to take advantage of every second and every inch we can. Once we get to a relatively safe place, you can rest. Even if the outside world knows we're missing, it'll still take at least 3 to 5 days to organize a search and rescue, and actually pull it off." Jiang Qilan looked at Cheng Ling with admiration. She was truly something else. Chapter 76 The Great Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling snatched the sweat towel from the medic and wiped her face. She shoved the towel back into the medic's hands, then turned and asked, "Everyone packed?" "Travel light, seriously, travel light." Cheng Ling directed everyone to grab any useful supplies from the wooden house, including a pot from the lumber mill. Turning around, she spotted a young guy with a camera. "Everyone ready?" "Hold on, you," Cheng Ling pointed at him, frowning. "Why are you still lugging around a camera? That thing's heavy and impractical." The young man, a shy and earnest cameraman, clutched his camera. "Ms. Cheng. I won't slow the team down. If we get out of this, I'd regret it every day for the rest of my life if I didn't capture this." This photographer, who would later become a world-renowned, multi-million-dollar award winner, would thank himself countless times for that decision. The footage he captured would save the day after the live broadcast got cut short due to a major incident, allowing desperate survival to pull through against all odds, and, not to mention, that valuable video would be snapped up by tons of major platforms at a premium. "But that's a story for later," Cheng Ling nodded. "If things get hairy, life comes first." "Thank you, Ms. Cheng." The cameraman gave a respectful bow. Cheng Ling went to check on the tied-up criminals, tightening each rope herself. Everyone was bound hand and foot, with gags stuffed in their mouths, and then shoved into the dorm. The once empty dorm suddenly felt crammed. Dolly had woken up. His eyes blazed with anger as he struggled and cursed, though all that came out were muffled whines. Seeing he was being difficult, Cheng Ling kicked him again until he passed out. That shut the other criminals up real quick. They played dead. There was a phone in the dorm. Cheng Ling picked it up and tried dialing out, only to find it was an internal line, a fixed phone for local calls within the area. No outside calls possible. Cheng Ling ripped the phone cord out and stuffed it in her pocket. Finally, after ensuring everyone was securely tied, Cheng Ling left the dorm and locked the door. On the way, she pulled out her phone and saw the battery was at 21%. It had just been at 43%. What the heck? 21%? Apple's battery drain is ridiculous. Cheng Ling checked the signal. Great, 0 bars, she typed out a message and sent it to her brother. Even if it didn't go through now, it would send as soon as she got a signal, bro. The Forest City PD is compromised. Get the Maple City Police to request permission for cross-jurisdictional enforcement. We're safe for now. Taking everyone to hide deep in the woods. Send help ASAP. Cheng Ling switched her phone to power-saving mode and wondered if anyone else had theirs. Director He, Producer Lin, do you have your phones? Producer Lin sighed. Those lowlifes smashed all our phones. Even the satellite truck got wrecked. During filming, they were worried that too many people watching meant someone might accidentally record the show and leak it online, which would be a headache. To avoid those risks, the show only had 5 phones, 1 for the director, 1 for the producer, 1 stayed at camp, and 1 each for the publicity and evaluation teams. When the criminals grabbed the crew, they searched everyone, and not a single phone survived. Then everyone saw 4 phones get sliced in half by a log-cutting machine. Out back, Cheng Ling pulled the phone from the camp out of her pocket. I've got one here. I've already messaged my brother to call the police. But, I have some bad news. There's a rat in the local police department. A rat? Bai Muchuan repeated, confused. A traitor. I'm afraid the local cops can't help us. Cheng Ling surveyed the 30-odd people in front of her. She had to lead 30 inexperienced people away from their pursuers, while also dealing with food, shelter, and transportation. The ultimate goal. Survival. This was true survival against all odds. Extreme difficulty, 1 wrong move and it's game over. Cheng Ling was most worried about the 2 injured team members. Jiang Qilan had a gunshot wound. He seemed okay now, but that was because the anesthesia hadn't worn off yet. When it did, Jiang Qilan would be in pain. The other wounded person was Lu Dengfeng. He was built like a tank and could take a beating. He looked rough with a bloody nose and swollen face, but after sitting for a bit, a quick patch-up, and some food, he was doing all right. The cameraman pointed his camera at Cheng Ling's face. So, right now, we can't rely on anyone but ourselves and our teammates. I mean, the people right next to you. We need to work together to find a way out of this mess. Cheng Ling looted every useful item the lumber mill had to offer, including a big iron pot, and with that, the group set out on their escape. Everyone was worried, what awaited them? Could they make it out alive? Chapter 77. Can these people turn over their own palms? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tan Tank calmly wrecked the drug-making equipment in the wooden house and buried the remains under the fruit trees. He contacted the South Koreans again, promising to deliver some quality merchandise. After settling on a price, Tank told his guys to whip up some noodles. Tank, one of them said cautiously, shouldn't we be moving faster? What's the rush? Give them 3 days, and they won't make it out of this forest. Tank smirked. A bunch of city slickers who can't even trust a chicken think they can outsmart me. No way, only a fool like Lu Chi would let a girl get the better of him. Tank slurped his noodle soup, belched, and checked the time. Brother Chi had been gone with the dogs for an hour and a half, almost time, right? Tank wiped his mouth, flashed a grin, and said, let's go pay those delicate city folks a little visit. His men laughed, rubbing their hands together. Tank, you know me. I heard you let Dolly have his way with a girl. How about letting me have some fun with those pretty boys? Tank looked at him with disdain. Alright, knock yourself out. I heard there are some good-looking actors in the bunch. His men practically drooled, ready to run. Tank stood up, stuck a cigarette in his mouth, took a drag, and exhaled a thick plume of smoke. Let's roll. On the way, Tank wasn't in any hurry. One of his guys asked, Tank, aren't you worried about bad dreams? Shouldn't we step on it? What's with the step on it? Don't think I don't know your game. You're just horny. Tank held the cigarette in his mouth, the smoke clouding his eyes, making him squint. He drawled, I'm taking my sweet time. Isn't that giving Lu Chi and Dolly more quality time to enjoy themselves? Dolly, sure, but what's Lu Chi gonna enjoy? Tank took the cigarette out of his mouth, spat on the ground, and smirked. Lu Chi's gotta stick up his ass. Thinks he's better than everyone else, some kind of scholar. He must be pissed about getting punked today. Gotta let him blow off some steam, or he won't be in the right headspace to work for us later. The subordinate bowed his head. Tank, you're a genius. This batch is top-notch stuff. The bosses upstairs should give you a promotion for this. Tank was riding high, he was working hard, and his superiors wouldn't let him down, he was gonna make a killing. When he was a kid, the blind fortune teller at the east end of the village told him he was destined for great things. Guess the blind man knew what he was talking about. He was fantasizing about making bank and whisking his girl off to the Maldives when he heard the guy up front yell. Holy crap! Is that Lucky? How'd Lucky die? Tank's heart sank, he was just thinking about hitting it big, and Lucky kicks the bucket. Talk about bad luck, Lucky. Lucky was dead. No way. A small crowd had already gathered, staring at something on the ground. The only one who could take down Lucky was Shi Wang. Could Shi Wang have gone berserk and ripped Lucky apart? Then, someone else shouted, Shi Wang's dead too. Hey! That's Lu Qi. Was he mauled by Lucky and Shi Wang? Tank couldn't believe it. Lucky and Shi Wang were his best dogs. Regular folks didn't stand a chance, and even the black bears in the forest steered clear of them. But then Tank saw the bodies of Lucky and Shi Wang lying on the ground. Tank was furious. The dogs were a bloody mess, their noses sliced off and their stomachs ripped open. A clean cut like that meant whoever did this was strong and knew their way around a knife. He reached down and felt the dogs. They were already cold. Damn it! Tank roared. The guys were freaked out by the grisly deaths of the dogs and Lu Qi. After a moment, one of them asked, Tank, what's wrong? I'm betting those runaways already made it to the lumber mill. Tank threw his cigarette on the ground, ground it out with his heel, pulled his cell phone out of his back pocket, and called the lumber mill. We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time. Please try your call again later. Tank slammed the phone to the ground. It bounced a few times and came to a stop. Tank screamed in frustration. Shit! 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 Everyone, move! By the time they reached the lumber mill, Cheng Ling and the others were long gone. The place was deserted. His men searched around and found Dolly and the others tied up in the bunkhouse. Tank! Dolly and the others are in the bunkhouse. Their ankles are busted. Tank stormed into the bunkhouse and saw his men tied up and sitting on the floor. Tank's rage intensified. He yanked the filthy pillowcase out of Dolly's mouth and roared, Where are they? You better start talking. Dolly's mouth was dry and full of fuzz. He coughed and gagged. Tank was beyond pissed. When Dolly didn't immediately answer, he kicked him in the head. Bang! Dolly fell against the tied-up guy next to him. I asked you a question. Tank grabbed Dolly by the collar. Why aren't you answering me? Tank, they beat us up and ran off. Dolly whimpered. Tank quickly pulled a gun from his waistband, pointed it at Dolly's head, and put his finger on the trigger. Chapter 78 Who Wants This Blessing? I don't want it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dolly looked at Tank, horrified. Tank reminded himself, this guy can't die. His wife's connected to the police. If Dolly goes missing, they'll trace it back for sure. Tank shifted his gun, aiming it at a bachelor. No parents to worry about, no kids to support. The bachelor was totally blindsided. He saw Tank looking at him and flashed a pathetic, eager to please smile. Then, a gunshot ripped through the air, brains and blood splattered across everyone nearby. Consider yourselves spared, for now. Find them, and you live. Fail, and... Tank raised the smoking gun, blowing a puff of smoke from the barrel. Don't blame me when things go south. We'll find them. We swear. The people on the ground groveled. Tank squatted, jabbing Dolly's chin with the gun's barrel. Where do you think they ran? Dolly's teeth chattered. He still had bits of the dead guy's brains and blood on his head. The gun on his chin felt hot. Trembling, he stammered, Ying, he probably headed out. Tank lowered the gun. That's what I figure. Only a crazy person would go deeper into the woods. Nobody in the room moved. Crap. asterisk they're all hobbled with dislocated ankles. Damn it. Who here knows how to fix a dislocation? An old guy spoke up, voice shaking. Never done a person, but I've fixed dogs before. What do dogs have to do with it? Tank spat. These morons ain't much smarter than dogs, anyway. Cheng Ling stopped, listening intently. She'd faintly heard a gunshot and the sound of birds taking flight in a panic. Sounds like Tank and his crew reached the lumber mill. Cheng Ling held up a hand, signaling the group to halt. She shrugged off her backpack. You guys rest here. I'm going to scout ahead. Scanning the trees around her, she picked one that looked well lit and easy to climb. With a burst of energy, she shimmied up. Yang Zhao, Lu Dengfeng, Lao Turtle Dove, Sui Chao, and Lu Zhan stared, mouths agape. Climbing a tree barehanded? Bai Muchuan, acting like he was a worldly expert, enlightened the Hicks. My older sister's got 1,000,000 talents. Climbing trees is, like, the least impressive. He looked so proud, as if he'd done something amazing. Then he launched into another one of his stories about how awesome and badass his older sister was. Cheng Ling reached the top of the tree. It was almost dusk, and the sunset was bright. She shaded her eyes and peered toward the lumber mill. The startled birds started returning to their nests, then, moments later, they flew up again. Tank and his guys were moving. Judging by the sequence of the birds' flights, they were headed in the opposite direction. When they realize they're going the wrong way, it will take at least 10 hours to catch up with them. Right now, the bigger problem was feeding 30 people. The tree Cheng Ling climbed was an aspen, easily over a century old. If she remembered correctly, that tree attracted a special, delicious treat. Cheng Ling slid down a bit, searching through the dense foliage, found them. Hidden among the leaves were clumps of brown silkworm cocoons, stuck together, brushworms. A real delicacy. Fried or grilled, they're amazing. Packed with protein and super nutritious, perfect for people who are injured. Cheng Ling pulled a bag from her pocket and happily plucked off all the cocoons, stuffing them inside, sliding down and gathering them as she went. By the time she reached the ground, she had 3 or 4 pounds. Sis, what took you so long? Bai Muchuan asked. Cheng Ling held up the bag. I was checking on our pursuers and picked up some snacks along the way. Everyone had heard Bai Muchuan rave about Cheng Ling's cooking. At the mention of food, they all started drooling. What is it, sis? Bai Muchuan asked, edging closer. Brushworms. The best mountain delicacy. Cheng Ling replied, peeling open a silkworm cocoon, extracting the fat pupa inside, and placing it in Bai Muchuan's hand. Bai Muchuan, I need my sister to get me checked out when we get back. Did I forget about the snake I ate like it was a duck's neck? Remembering him screaming and trying to spit it out, Cheng Ling threatened, don't you dare waste food, or you'll get no dinner tonight. Bai Muchuan. The hair on his arms stood on end as he gingerly placed the pupa back in Cheng Ling's bag. Then he leaped back, yelling, You! Bugs! You can eat those. Sis, you're kidding, right? Cheng Ling smiled. I never joke about food. Besides, you can't have them anyway. This is a special treat for Brother Jiang and Lu Dengfeng. Jiang Qilan, silently enduring the pain of his wound. Lu Dengfeng, who was happily snuggling with Yang Zhao, paled. Who wants this special treat? Not me, Chapter 79 Let's Go Hunting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing there was a precious cicada pupa, just like brushworms, the old guy, knowing a good deal when he saw one, practically drooled. He drooled again. Sharp-eyed Cheng Ling noticed immediately and tossed him the bag of brushworms. He caught it. Hey, can you peel these cocoons for me? I'll give you a cut once you're done. The old guy's eyes lit up. You got it. Also, I need you to do me another favor. After you've processed the brushworm cocoons, find some young, strong guys and teach them how to pick firewood for the fire. The more the better. I'd appreciate it. The old guy gave a thumbs up. Hard work. Nah, no sweat. This is awesome. I love the outdoors. Isn't this what I'm all about? Today is better than anything I've done before. Cheng Ling walked over to Jiang Qilan, saw his cheeks were flushed, and touched his forehead. He's got a bit of a fever. He needs to eat and get some anti-inflammatory meds, Cheng Ling told the medical team. Got an ice pack handy? Put it on him. I've got something to take care of. Jiang Qian's lips were dry, he croaked, what are you going to do? That he was afraid she'd go Rambo and take on those 50 guys by herself, nobody else would, but you couldn't rule it out with her. Cheng Ling glanced at him, understanding his concern. Relax. They're chasing us in the wrong direction. Everyone should get a good night's sleep. They think we headed for the forest entrance. They won't realize they're off course until they get there. They're just people, not some special forces unit. They can only move so fast and they need rest. Once they figure out they're going the wrong way, it'll take them at least 10 hours to double back, assuming they even know where we are. Besides, we're like a needle in a haystack. They have no clue where we are. Everyone can chill. I'll climb a tree every so often to keep an eye on things and make sure we're all safe. Cheng Ling grabbed her backpack, pulled out the map, compass, and spices, and stuffed some plastic bags and a folding knife inside. Whoosh! Time to find us some dinner. Also, I need 2 people. Sui Chao, and that, what's your name? Cheng Ling pointed at Xiao A. Xiao A was big and could be useful for heavy lifting. Big sister, my name is Fang Ziman, but you can call me Meng Meng. Cheng Ling. Right. Sui Chao, Meng Meng, you 2 are coming hunting with me. Cheng Ling glanced back and saw Bai Muchuan staring at her eagerly, clearly wanting in on the action. Bai Muchuan, remember the mushrooms you ate yesterday? That when Cheng Ling had Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan cleaning the mushrooms the day before, she was trying to get them to remember them. Remember. Like it was yesterday. Bai Muchuan puffed out his chest. Great, put on some surgical gloves, find someone to go with you and pick mushrooms. And before you pick them, don't forget. Bai Muchuan clapped his hands. Knock off the dirt. Cheng Ling gave him a thumbs up, then reminded everyone at the camp to stick close by and if they needed to go to the bathroom, to buddy up with someone of the same sex. The photographer raised his hand. Can I tag along? I promise I won't get in your way. Cheng Ling respected dedicated workers, she nodded, the photographer happily grabbed his camera, and just like that, Cheng Ling, Sui Chao, Little Meng Meng, and the photographer set off. On the way, Sui Chao rubbed his hands together. Big sister, we're going hunting, right? What are we hunting? Wild deer, boar, sheep, whatever we can find. There are a lot of us, and we'll need a lot of meat. Cheng Ling tapped the ground with a stick, keeping an eye out for tracks. Sheep or deer would be best. They're less dangerous, and they're often alone. Wild boars usually travel in packs of 10 or 15. They're tough to hunt. Meng Meng had seen Cheng Ling's outdoor cooking skills firsthand. As he listened to the names of the animals, images of various dishes danced in his head, and his stomach started rumbling. Cheng Ling didn't even turn around. Meng Meng, when I found you, you were eating instant noodles, right? Did I drag you away before you were full? Are you hungry? Meng Meng touched his nose, looking a little embarrassed. I'm okay. I can handle it. Let's take care of the wounded, director he, and the girls first. I'm not that hungry. Growl. His stomach betrayed him, letting out a series of loud rumbles. Cheng Ling smiled. Your stomach seems to disagree. Meng Meng, oh, asterisk forward slash 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 asterisk, Q, don't worry, I'm going to get as much food as possible. Tonight's a good time to refuel. Tomorrow, we probably won't have the time or chance to sit down for a real meal, Cheng Ling said. Big sister, Sui Chao asked, you seem to think eating is pretty important. Yeah, someone I respect told me, you gotta fuel up to fight. If I can, I don't skip meals. As they walked, Cheng Ling suddenly stopped, she heard the cooing of quails. Score. 10 minutes later, Sui Chao, carrying a bunch of quails with broken necks in his left hand and a bag of quail eggs in his right, happily followed Cheng Ling. A cluster of white mushrooms as big as forearms came into view. Plump, juicy, and fragrant chicken leg mushrooms. A moment later, Meng Meng had a bag full of the huge, tender mushrooms. Cheng Ling bent down from time to time to pick up some leaves or strip off bark and put it in her backpack. She said these were rare spices. Along the way, Cheng Ling was seen bending down from time to time to pick some strange plant leaves, peeling a few pieces of bark, or picking up some scattered dried fruits. The results were plentiful. But Cheng Ling kept moving. "Isn't this enough, big sister?" Sui Chao asked. "This isn't even a snack for 5 people, Cheng Ling said. "I need to hunt something bigger." Shoot! Cheng Ling stopped and listened. Sui Chao and Meng Meng immediately froze, afraid of making a sound. Thump thump. It sounded like an animal digging in the dirt, and it sounded like a big animal. Could it be a sheep? Or a clueless deer? Or a wild boar? "Time to take a look." Cheng Ling pulled out the 2 machetes from her waistband and whispered, "You 2 stay here and don't make a sound." "Yes, big sister," they whispered back. "If you want to take pictures, come with me," Cheng Ling told the photographer. The photographer, thrilled, nodded. He carried his heavy camera and followed Cheng Ling on tiptoe. Cheng Ling quietly approached the sound. The animal was pawing at the ground. Sheep like to chew roots and dig in the dirt. Wild boars also dig for acorns buried underground. Rounding the last big tree, Cheng Ling saw the huge body of the animal digging. A massive adult wild boar. The photographer gasped at the size of the beast. Chapter 80: Killing a Wild Boar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling gave the wild boar a once-over. Its head and body were covered in wounds, probably from fighting other boars for dominance. This lone adult was likely the loser, kicked out of its group by the alpha. Now it was on its own, unable to find a new herd. Cheng Ling eyed its thick back and powerful legs, figuring it weighed close to 900 pounds. Old-timer hunters always warn newbies: pigs first, bears second, tigers third. Translation: if you run into a wild boar, don't even think about fighting it. Just run. Wild boars are seriously tough. A 600-pounder charging full speed is like getting hit by a car, and their bite is insane. An adult boar can clamp down with over 550 pounds of force. You'd think something that big and bulky would be slow, but boars can make hairpin turns at top speed. Plus, they've got thick, tough hides, making them nearly impossible to take down without a gun. Cheng Ling didn't have a gun. A gunshot would be way too loud. It would give the tanks a beacon, and they'd be on her in seconds. Still, she wasn't about to pass this up. Adult boars rarely travel alone. This was a gift from the gods: wild boar hide, tusks, over 400 pounds of prime meat, sausage casings, too good to pass up. If she played her cards right, this boar could feed 30+ people for 3 days. "Can you climb a tree?" Cheng Ling whispered to the cameraman. He gave her a thumbs up. Cheng Ling pointed to a smaller tree nearby. Didn't want the boar to get riled up and hurt him. He got the message, scrambled up with his camera gear, and settled in. Cheng Ling watched the boar again. It was rooting around in the dirt. She gripped her machete, aimed it, and did some quick calculations in her head. Sticking the knife in its head wasn't a sure thing. It was digging around randomly. A miss would just enrage it and blow the whole hunt. Cheng Ling pursed her lips and let out a loud whistle. "Who?" The boar snapped its head up. "Now or never." Cheng Ling gripped the machete and hurled it. It spun through the air, right at the boar's head. Bam! The blade sank into the boar's forehead between its eyes, burying a good third of its length. The cameraman was screaming internally as he filmed. Holy crap! She's amazing. But Cheng Ling didn't let her guard down. She switched the machete to her right hand, crouched low, and focused on the boar. At first, the boar didn't react. Then, 5 or 6 seconds later, it reared back and squealed in pain, and charged straight at Cheng Ling. A black blur. The cameraman's hair stood on end. This beast, as big as a small car, was booking it at like 70 to 80 miles per hour. But Cheng Ling didn't flinch, just stared at the boar as it bore down on her. The cameraman's heart leaped into his throat. He was about to yell, "Watch out!" As the boar reached her, Cheng Ling touched the ground, leaped into the air, spun, and landed on the back of its neck. She jammed the machete into its right eye with one hand, and gripped the knife already buried in its skull with the other. The boar bucked and thrashed, trying to throw her off, but Cheng Ling was ready. She stayed put, used the boar's own momentum to drive the blade deeper into its brain. The whole knife vanished into the boar's head. Cheng Ling planted her feet on its back, grabbed a branch, and swung up into the tree like a monkey. The boar howled, blood gushing from the wound, and spun wildly in circles between the trees. A minute later, it crashed to the ground with a thud, twitched a few times, and went still. The cameraman got it all on film. The lighting wasn't great, but he didn't miss a second of the big sister's badassery. Cheng Ling waited a beat, then blew a series of special whistles, their agreed-upon signal. If she needed to handle something solo, this whistle meant it was safe to come out. Sui Chao and Meng Meng came running. They'd heard the boar's terrifying roar and were freaked. But they'd stayed put. Cheng Ling had drilled it into them. Come with me, and you follow one rule: no heroics. Do exactly what I say. Only come when you hear the all-clear whistle. That they'd stuck to the plan. Seeing the massive boar lying on the ground, looking like a pile of meat, Sui Chao and Meng Meng were speechless. She took down this monster all by herself. That's some serious fighting power. Cheng Ling dropped out of the tree, beaming. Looks like our luck's turning around. Wild boar is delicious. I'm grilling ribs tonight, so good it'll make your eyebrows fall off.